nation and area seems to have the COVID-19 pandemic under control more than a year after the first instance of the disease was recorded in the US. But many others on the other end continue to report a record-breaking number of new illnesses and new cases each and every day. New Zealand, Australia, Taiwan, and the Chinese mainland are among the countries that have been able to keep COVID-19 under control. Those nations and territories that have been successful in preventing the spread of COVID-19 have typically done so by acting decisively at the outside and then doing so again when a subsequent outbreaks occur.
Many of the countries that responded well at the very start of the pandemic have previously experienced the SARS-CoV-1 virus in 2002 and 2003, so they had this track record and the experience of knowing how to respond. Taiwan and Hong Kong are two places that were hit hard by SARS. The lesson learned nearly 2 decades ago have prepared them to better handle COVID-19. Many people in both communities started wearing face masks as the first cases emerged and without government prompting. Disinfection of high-touch areas will step up, but such measures were already in place at many public places. Technology helped Taiwan and South Korea get a handle on COVID-19 outbreak. Taiwan's name-based mask distribution system ensured distribution of masks to every resident and prevented hoarding. To stop panic buying and long queue outside shops, the government launched a platform for each vendor to update how much stock they had on hand. A series of real-time mask apps were then developed for residents to check where they could go to buy protective gear. In South Korea, health officials use access to phone record, credit card transaction, and surveillance video to track down the close contact of infected patients. Members of the public received text messages about the past movement of confirmed cases, with detail including the name of businesses and restaurants that they recently visited. But digital tracing or surveillance only work when enough people take part. Many of the contact tracing approaches that have been used in South Korea, for instance, would be met with a very strong public resistance in, say, the US or the UK. That's not always a possibility. It's not just in those places. Hong Kong recently launched an app for people to track their movement, but concern about privacy and complaint that the app is not easy to use have resulted in a lukewarm reception. And even with its sophisticated contact tracing strategy, South Korea has recently seen COVID-19 cases on the rise again, prompting authorities to reimpose social distancing measures.
To continue our group's assignment discussions, I will talk about several issues. The first one, I will talk about how South Korea became one of a country that successfully contained COVID-19 virus, but the country overcome it with their brilliant strategies. And the second one, I will talk about several factors that make and cause some countries that faced up with COVID-19 viral waves fail to overcome it.
South Korea was one of the countries that successfully contained COVID-19, but they managed to control it with their brilliant strategies. We have been known that media had reported that South Korea recently seen COVID-19 cases on the rise again. So what is the government move? Firstly, they're prompting authorities to reimpose social distancing measures. However, the issue now is why haven't some countries adopted coronavirus fighting strategies that have been proven to be successful like South Korea? According to one health expert speaker, the countries that have been less successful have faced a variety of different concerns ranging from perhaps less collectivist societal attitudes, concern about the socio-economic cost of attempts to control the pandemic, perhaps a higher distrust of scientists, or even government interventions, and of course political leadership that have been dismissed the impact of COVID-19. Besides, according to health experts, they say a combination of politics and willingness of the public to cooperate over the economy or play a role in why COVID-19 containment has failed in some places. However, there is a dichotomy between economics and health. There's been this sort of conceptual argument that really need to balance the response between the two, and that has led to a lot of half-measure responses. Sort of lockdowns that were then eased too early, or trying to have half-measure restrictions that allow business to stay open more but still try to control the spread a little bit. And the issue is that in the middle of the pandemic, a half measure doesn't work. And the issue is that in the middle of a pandemic, a half measure doesn't work anymore. And the problem is that the half measure ends up having much stronger economic impacts than a short-term strong impact. As much of the world struggles to recover from economic recession as a result of the pandemic, and before South Korea's latest wave of COVID-19 infections, the nation's business were able to continue trading. Basically, COVID-19 is something the world will have to continue dealing with. In 2021, even with the rollout of new vaccines, which could take more than a year, the coronavirus will be with us for the foreseeable future. But in the new year, will the governments in the world will change their strategies, or will their people be willing to accept more drastic measures to fight the pandemic? In conclusion, we hope that every country in this world will continue to stop the spread of coronavirus, and hope people will adapt the new life since the virus can easily go on.